Well, thank you. Thank you all for having me on stage. This morning, Jeroen called me new kid in the block, but I can tell you I've been a very long time on this planet already. I'm like 50 years old. Recently, it still hurts, so I have to get used to that. But also, I've been working the last 13 years in a CPTO kind of role. Daniel suggested we call it 3PO, which of course I'm okay with it. I'm responsible for product and technology within CoreMedia, and I started in January. And basically, yeah, I'm really happy that I joined. It's a really cool company. It's a really cool product. I also think maybe a little typically German, we undersell what we have. So I'm also there, try to move things forward, create a product vision based on what we can really do, and move the company forward. So I'm not going to talk, as Bob said, a lot about the roadmap and the details. We have those, of course, but that would be very boring. But what me and the executive team have been doing the last couple of months is really sharpening our product strategy. So we really worked on putting down our company strategy on paper and translate then the product strategy back into, or the company strategy translated back into the product strategy. So we've been talking to quite some customers, partners, very important as well, listening to analysts, to Gartner, Forrester, and others, but also really working with our CoreMedia experts. We have a lot of people in CoreMedia that also have been working there for quite some time, so they have a lot of experience around content management. And of course, then we're also following the market trends like AI. Well, don't need to talk too much about AI. We already had 2 really great presentations around AI. So also, this is going to be like a question answer to myself kind of setup. So what do we hear? So coming from the market, from customers, some element was when I just started, and they say, well, Roy, the customer said, we will not feed the beast. So I'm like, okay, what does it mean, we will not feed the beast? Well, we have some retail customers, and they are refusing to run on AWS. So, yeah, okay, so what does retail have to do with AWS? And they say, well, Amazon selling stuff. Oh, yeah, so they're like the most important competitors of many retailers. So they said, we're not going to spend money on our biggest competitor, so we will not feed the beast. Okay. Then another thing we heard quite a lot was that we will not run on a US-based cloud provider. So, okay, why would you not do that? Well, there are a little bit 2 different views on things. So some customers say, well, it is fully GDPR compliant, but I think a lot of government customers, insurance companies say, well, running on this US-based client is not GDPR compliant because the US government can see all the information on the cloud, which is true. Then another feedback that we also got quite a lot was that CoreMedia upgrades are sometimes difficult, right? Especially when there's not a really strong partner inside, when the upgrade has been postponed for many times, it's difficult to upgrade. CoreMedia Studio is sometimes complex. So, it's complex. We can do a lot of stuff with it, but it also has some complexity to it, and there's feedback we really take into account. Then what are you guys doing with no code? So also in the presentations here, basically what you want to avoid is that you don't want to, if you want to deploy content on the web, you don't want to do any software development, right? You want to basically not touch IT, because then you have to do deployments, which of course, unless you have it fully automated, like one of our customers, takes time and just delays stuff. What about AI? Well, don't need to talk about that. We'll come back to that later. What are your plans with data and personalization? Yeah, you see it here as well, also with our customers presenting. Yes, content is one thing, but what do you do? How do you personalize? How do you create the experience? How do you elevate the experience? And very often, in order to do that, you need the data. You need, what is your customer doing? What's your customer information? And the content in order to do the personalization. How important is a strong partner? So, hey, CoreMedia, can you do all this stuff yourself, or do you work with partners? And the last, but certainly not least, is what is your view on the MAG Alliance compliance? So all these questions I will try to answer in this presentation, because it also sets the view and the strategy of the things that we try to achieve. So looking at all the questions, we really try to sharpen our product vision. And so We started working in themes. So one important theme that came towards us was we unburden the customers, basically making sure that all the hassle that customers have, we try, and customers and partners, by the way, that we try to take that away as much as possible, and we do and help customers and unburdening them with all the stuff that is not important for customers to do. Let me see. We are obsessed with UX. We really want the user interface to work, especially on the studio side of things. It's very important that that works. So there's a theme around investment area around user experience, UX. And the last one is we add value via innovation. Also talk about that. So when we talk about innovation, it's not just all the software that we develop ourselves. We can also OEM software, like we're doing with AI now. We can buy companies, right? And we can partner and co-innovate. So that is all about innovation. So first areas by unburdening your customers. So what we will continue to develop is we will continue to deliver a cloud of choice. So our CoreMedia system will continue to run on any cloud in the future, right? So whether you run on Azure, when you run on your private cloud, whether you run on AWS, CoreMedia will continue to support that. I think that's an important one because many of our competitors just go all in AWS or all in Azure, and they're not able to do that. Next to that, for our service customers, we will also offer a private cloud, a BSI-certified private cloud in the future. That means that as a CoreMedia customer, you don't want to run the software yourself, you want to have it run by CoreMedia. We will also offer a certified private cloud in the future. So then where we will also invest is easier upgrades. So we have SaaS and PaaS solutions, and we will continue to invest over there. So I have a separate slide on that one. There's a lot of questions around what can we do as a partner and self-managed. We have the public and private PaaS, we have public and private SaaS, and native public SaaS. So there's a lot of discussions going back and forth. But basically, if you want to be unburdened, you can, of course, go to the native public SaaS. That's where we run the software, where we run everything. We upgrade everything. But what we, of course, see, and that's also something we really support, is the self-managed part. So we see many customers who run on their own systems with a strong partner, and it's something we will absolutely support. We also see that together with partners, we run, basically the partner develops the software, gives it to us, and we run it for them. That's also something we see a lot currently. Then moving forward, we have developed some services like the image transformation service, the event hub, and the campaign app, which runs basically a multi-tenant native AWS. So that is an area that we over here. I think in the end, we try to come out somewhere in the middle where we will have, self-managed with partners, and then, public and private PaaS in combination with SaaS. So a lot of stuff, but it is a lot of talking that you also, in the vision, conceptually need to understand what does it mean, how do you manage it, how do you develop it. So another really important part that we see for easy upgrades is having a very experienced partner. Right? We see when there's an experienced partner at the table with customers, we get tickets because when there's a really complicated issue, we get tickets. But where you see where customers are struggling is where there's not an experienced partner or there's no partner, right? Or a team has come in, they have developed a lot of stuff, they've implemented a lot of stuff, and then it has been quiet for 2 years, they moved out, and then they want to do a big upgrade. That's where we see customers are struggling. So we always we have a partner first strategy, so we always try to say, hey, can we get your partner in, or can we get your partner to the right level? That really makes a difference for the upgrades. What we try to do is, of course, also work with partners, work with customers to really try to understand why some areas are being customized. Right? If you customize a standard product, it's more difficult to upgrade. If you stick to the standard, it's easier to upgrade. And of course, you try to understand and work with partners, work with customers to understand why they customize and if you can solve it in a different way with extension points, additional APIs, and all these kinds of solutions. Then, of course, we have some native public SaaS apps. It basically means that we run it multi-tenant. And of course, it's easier if you use those, like the campaign app, we just run everything for you. Also partners, there's not a lot that partners need to do here. Another really important one is that if you talk to the foresters and the gardeners of this world, they say, well, if you build a DXP, you need to have a best of breed, and then what you see a lot of customers do is they select like 15 applications in their DXP, and they start implementing those, right? So that's one element of it. And what used to be is that customers would go for this one single solution, like Adobe tried to do or Salesforce tried to do. And then now we have this real composable where customers sometimes are implementing 15 or 20 different applications. But that makes it very difficult to maintain, right? Because all these applications have to work, all these applications have to be upgraded. So the implementation might be super cool, but managing it afterwards is a really big problem. What we see other customers do, they stack it to be more in the middle. So like, let's see what Salesforce has. Let's see what Salesforce can help us and reuse that. Same for CoreMedia. What is it that CoreMedia can do and reuse all the features that CoreMedia has so that you end up maybe with 4 or 5 big applications instead of 12 small ones or one big one. Then what we really take into account from CoreMedia angle is that we need to go more out to customers, setting the standards, the best practices, right? Because we know quite a lot. Sometimes we've been a little bit inward focused, and now with the team, especially the product management team, will be more outward focused to really go out and say, hey, if you use this feature, use it like this, because then it's easy upgradable, and you use it in the right way, use it in the way that is intended. Then the next theme around the user experience. So we still strongly believe in Studio. Studio is something that has been developed over the years, has a lot of knowledge in it, a lot of best practices in it. And we are going to upgrade it. We're going to make it a lot better. We still strongly believe that the fastest way from an idea to content on the website is via Studio. So it's not via developing all kinds of software. It's really about using and optimizing the use of Studio. So having said that, so we're going to optimize for experts. Right? We see that if you're an expert at CoreMedia, you can do a lot. It's a very broad tool with a lot of features. And as an expert, you can do a lot, but it also has quite some complexity. And we're going to optimize for expert use, make things smarter. Of course, integrate AI at some point in time to just automate a lot more. But what we're also going to do is simplify for novice users. So when you have novice users, sometimes people, they scare off a little bit. Whoa, this is a lot. So also there we try to automate, we try to simplify tasks so that also novice users can use Studio a bit better. Of course, as said, so AI will be a game changer. So we had Uli presenting, which is good. So maybe explain a little bit what we are going to do on AI. So in 2023, this year, we focus on AI integrations. So Uli already showed some AI integrations, and there are many more of those. And why we do that, we try to stay flexible, right? Because you will see AI engines coming, AI going. So now heavily investing natively into AI, I think might be a big risk, because you might invest in the wrong things. As you can see, we can already use it, right? So the integration, and we'll just continue to integrate, to use, to learn, and also really stay flexible, so that when we use an AI component, that we can also be interchanged easily. Because I think many will come and many will go. What we will do is we will deliver them more as a CoreMedia solution. Very often now we say, hey, customer, you can integrate into that, and you can integrate into that. But what we will do more from the product side is say, okay, we recommend these 5 AI engines to be integrated in this kind of way. Then what we are also doing in CoreMedia, as everybody is doing in the world, we really need to learn and learn and learn from AI. And really, we get good at it as well, so that in 2024 we can really start implementing AI natively into the product. A real important element that we're currently not doing very well, I feel, is the co-innovation with customers and partners. I said before, I still feel we are a little bit inwards focused, but if you look at CoreMedia and if you look at the really cool stories that were presented today with customers, I feel there's a huge world around us where CoreMedia is being used and where cool integrations have been built or cool applications on top of CoreMedia have been built. And my gut feeling tells me that we only know, from CoreMedia side, we only know 20%. So we try to bring that together to learn and see, okay, is there stuff that we can reuse, we can learn from each other? Because that's also a way to add value for all our customers without doing massive product investments. Then the last one is around the market compliance. We get a lot of, well, not a lot of course, we get questions around market compliance. Hey, what's your view on the market compliance? Yeah, so what we have on the left side here, you can see these are the areas where you say, okay, if you want to be market compliant, these are the things that you need to do. So if you look at CoreMedia, so an API-first approach, okay, that's something we can adhere to. Cloud native, something we can do. Headless, something we have, and the composable architecture is also something we have. Microservice-based, that's not that we are not that, right? So in the future, developments will move to be microservice-based. But all in all, that means that you are not, if you're not microservice-based, it's difficult to become market compliant. But then there's other stuff that we bring to the table that many market-compliant competitors cannot do. So many market-compliant competitors, they run a multi-tenant system, all fully integrated and developed, for example, in AWS. If you would go to them and say, hey, I need a single-tenant instance, they will say that's not possible, right? So that's one element that we can do. We can do a single-tenant instance. If you would go to them and say, hey, I want to run in Azure, they say, well, can't do that, right? It's fully integrated into the AWS, so either you take AWS, you take our multi-tenant setup, or you're not going to be a customer. So that's where we try to differentiate ourselves with CoreMedia, because with our partners, on-premise, self-managed customers, we have a big customer base there. We are already doing that, so we don't want to lose that. Then, of course, the higher GDPR compliance. So again, many of our competitors, they are not able to run outside of a US cloud. We will offer a private cloud, which is more, especially for European customers, upholding the GDPR compliance standards. And as said before, so with CoreMedia, using all the features CoreMedia has, you lower the complexity to maintain. You see, in many cases with customers that developing the DXP is one thing, but maintaining it, especially when you have like 12, 15, 20 different applications that are interacting with each other, that's a different thing. That's almost like a beast, and we see also customers really failing at it. So that was about our product themes. So this is the way our product vision is going to unfold, what we're going to develop and what we're going to deliver. Next to that, we also within CoreMedia always try to improve ourselves and get to a better way of working. And I hope you will experience that also in the next coming months. So first of all, we sharpened our product strategy. So really also towards partners, towards customers, be very precise in, okay, this is where we're going to invest in, this is where we're not going to invest in, and move that forward. So that's what we've been doing right now. But also, we are currently working on, a more effective, but also outward-focused organization. I think we've been very inward-focused. And when I talk about organization, I talk about my organization, the product organization, of course, the sales organization, professional service organization. They've always been very outward-focused. But my product organization needs to become more outward-focused. And we're working on that as well. Data-driven. We have Pendo, which does the product analysis. So it's really good if you can join that initiative, because then we can really measure how the application is being used, and and we can improve the application. Improved support. So what we see that support requests from our customers. If you look where CoreMedia comes from being a software company that delivers software to a partner, and this partner installs and runs it. Now we are at a situation where we develop the software, a partner, builds an application on top of it. They give it back to us, and we run it for them. But now we also see with some SaaS applications that we have that we build and run it, right? So we are moving up the stack slowly, but it also means you need to have different support levels, different approach to support, because customers just expect more from us. One example is that, for example, if an application is not well implemented, they expect us to go out and tell, hey, you need to implement it like this, you need to give architectural guidelines, provide best practices, and the same accounts for support. Just a lot more is expected from customers, and something we will adhere to in the future. Last but not least, what we see is we have quite a lot of requests coming from customers, but we also have limited capacity. Like every development team, we have limited capacity, and we are prioritizing the things to unburden the customer, to improve the UX, and also be innovative. So an idea that we have is that if we, we call it paid R&D, and paid R&D means that if customers are willing to co-invest with us in certain features, so we will prioritize features, and if a feature does not get enough priority, together with the customer who is willing to chip in, basically, we can then add additional resources so that we can continue to develop for the lower priority R&D topics, and they will also be integrated in the product in the future. Yeah, so thank you very much for your attention.